Thank you. We're coming out of executive session at 8:10 p.m. Thanks, everyone, for their help. Do we have a motion on item number 2, please?
I move that we approve Resolution 2020-16, a resolution approving and authorizing publication of a notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 3, discussion and take action to consider and act on voluntary annexation by Sean Kretschmar, D.O., and Matthew Boothby, M.D., D.B.A., DHKB, investments for annexation of 1.07 acres located in the northwest corner of Willow Bend Drive and Bankhead Highway, J.S. Oxer Survey, abstract number 1029, City of Willow Park, Parker County, Texas. Betty.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Goodness, I'm the one that doesn't need the microphone. This is a 1.07 acre tract of vacant land that Dr. Kretschmar and Dr. Boothby are requesting be annexed voluntarily.
Fine.
You have in your packet the petition, and you also have the survey information as well as the service plan, which will be executed. This property is adjacent to the city. It is just to the south of the doctor's office complex. In fact, it's the southern part of Lot 7 that they own. You do have the petition, which your action will be to receive and accept that petition, and then you will need to adopt Resolution 2020-14, which is in your packet on page 19, which will set the public hearing on the annexation for December the 8th of this year at 7 p.m. in City Council chambers. As I said, you do have the petition, you have the service plan, the map, you also have the annexation calendar and the resolution. The city attorney has prepared and reviewed the petition and the service plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thanks for your help on this, Betty. This gives their property, and it brings it all into the city.
Yes, sir, it does.
So they essentially have a lot that's plotted as a lot, and half, part of the lot is in the city and part is not.
That's
Yes.
correct.
They're just requesting that it all be in the city.
That's correct. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, let's see,
Resolution 2020-14.
2020-14 voluntary annexation as read.
We need the resolution read,
Oh, you
please.
need this one here.
Yes, need,
Resolution, make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-14, a resolution setting a date and time and place for a public hearing on the proposed annexation of certain property by the City of Willow Park, Texas, and authorizing and directing the mayor to publish notice of such public hearing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 4, to consider and act on voluntary petition for annexation of .064 acres located in the northwest corner of Willow Bend Drive and Bankhead Highway, City of Willow Park, Parker County, Texas. Betty.
Thank you, Mayor. This property is owned by the Willow Park Baptist Church, and it is also a voluntary annexation of .642 acres. This property is adjacent to the doctor's property and is a small triangle that would be just to the west of that, north of Bankhead Highway, and it's actually the far eastern side of the church's campus. This is their existing property. And we do have the petition, we have the service plan, the annexation map and calendar, and we also have a resolution to hold the public hearing in December. This is Resolution 2020-15. The city attorney has also prepared this petition as well as the service plan, and I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
This is attached to the last one we did.
Yes, sir, immediately to the west.
That's correct. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 4, resolution 2020-15, a resolution setting a date, time, and place for a public hearing on the proposed annexation certain property by the city of Willow Park, Texas, and authorizing and directing the mayor to publish notice of such public hearing.
Second.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Betty.
Thank you, Mayor.
Who's second? Do you know?
Excuse me?
Who's second? Yes. Thank you.
Item number 5, public hearing to receive input regarding text amendments to the City of Willow Park zoning ordinance, Section 1403005, fire protection access. Do we need to just read all of them and then go?
Yes.
Section 1406010, 9, 10, and 14, R5, single-family, medium density. Section 1406005, C2, R1, single-family district. Section 1406.008, B1A, C5, C6, R3, multifamily district. Section 1410.001, a new development site plan. Section 1412, Section 1406002, off-street parking and loading requirements. Section 1406002, Section 14.06.015, public, municipal, state, and/or federal-owned facilities or uses are permitted in all districts. We're opening the public hearing at 8:17 p.m.
These are all topics that we discussed a few months ago, and all these issues when we went through all these
These,
changes.
these do incorporate all the changes that we have talked about. I think we met back in January on this. You have the zoning ordinance amendments. They're more or less summarized. And then we have the 38 pages that highlight the additions and the deletions to the zoning ordinance. I will be happy to entertain any questions. I will tell you, there are two minor changes that the commission made. They were some additions for clarification. The first one was regarding the fences in the R5 medium-density residential district to require that all of the fence posts be metal and that they be placed in concrete, each one of the posts. And that's more a safety factor for when. And then the last one is in the agricultural district, and if you remember, we're changing in the ordinance to require concrete parking and paving in all of the zoning districts. And the commission is making the recommendation for lots in the agricultural district, that lots that are 5 acre or larger be permitted to have driveways they have the option to pave them in the concrete, with asphalt pavement, decomposed granite, gravel, or rock, and they are required to maintain those. We have some large tracts that, they have very long driveways, and, it probably would be cost prohibitive to do those with as little traffic as they have. So those are the only two changes. I would be happy to entertain any questions.
Were there any ordinances that are still outstanding to be addressed, or did this catch it all?
We still have the sign ordinance and the landscaping, and I hope to get those back to you maybe around the first of the year,
Okay.
shortly thereafter. And that will take care of those.
The landscaping was a xeriscape, right?
Right, and we were going to do some, look at some different type of plants to give them a plant list, and also maybe some incentives if they use the drought-tolerant plants, maybe a reduction in the amount of landscaping.
Okay.
Okay.
Did P&Z have any comments? Did P&Z, is there,
P&Z has very thoroughly I commend them, they have gone through this numerous times, and we have tweaked it and tweaked it. I think we have a very good product for council to consider. And you do have, in your packet after this, you have ordinance 811-20 that would affect these changes.
Okay, any other questions for Betty?
Yes, I noticed that the requirement for site plans on a lot of this had been taken out, and that may be something before I was on council that y'all discussed, but I was just hoping you could address that real quick.
In Willow Park, it's pretty unique. Most cities as long as a site plan for multifamily, commercial, industrial development meets the requirements of the ordinance, it's handled administratively. And one of the things we've gotten into, especially during the pandemic, is construction being held up and development being held up because it did have to go through the commission and council. If something is done as a planned development, it will still be reviewed by a commission and council and approved. If there was a variation to the ordinance requirements, in other words, if someone, say, did not want to do the concrete paving or something like that, depending on what it is, it would either go for a variance to the Board of Adjustment if it's a zoning ordinance requirement, or if they did a separate development plan that had variations, that would still come to commission and council.
Okay.
But the ones that actually meet the requirements of the ordinance would be handled administratively. They would still have the same review they do, public works, fire, building. Also, our engineer approves the drainage plans.
Okay, good deal, makes sense.
Okay.
Any other questions? We're closing the public hearing at 8:23 PM. Thank you, Betty.
Thank you.
Item number 6, to consider and act on ordinance 811-20, an ordinance to receive input regarding text amendments to the City of Willow Park zoning ordinance.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 811-20, an ordinance of the City of Willow Park, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Willow Park by amending Chapter 14 of the zoning code, including amending 14.03.005 to increase the minimum width of a fire lane and to require the fire lane to be concrete, amending 14.06.005 by deleting paragraph C, subparagraph 2 in its entirety, amending 14.06.008 by changing the density of apartments to 18 per acre and changing the references to the currently adopted versions of the International Building Code and International Fire Code, amending 14.06.010 by deleting the requirement of a divided garage door, changing the height of screening and screening footer requirements, amending the zoning regulations for all zoning districts to amend the requirements for site development plans, amending 14.04.001 by amending and/or adding definitions, amending 14.12.001 by adding that all parking spaces and driveways shall be concrete except for lots 5 acres or larger in Ag District, amending all zoning district regulations to allow certain utility installations, providing for the incorporation of premises, providing a severability clause, providing a cumulative repealer clause, providing a savings clause, providing a penalty clause, and providing an effective date.
You get an A for reading.
Congratulations.
Second.
We have a second. Any other questions?
Can you repeat the motion, please?
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor? Thank you. Jake, you're up.
Okay. So these will be financial statements for the full fiscal year. So this will give you a good feel, obviously, for how the year ended up. I know, obviously, we've walked through every quarter, so some of the details we've already addressed. But obviously, if there's anything that you have questions on, please let me know. Front page, just want to highlight, and there's a few things I'm going to highlight on some of the sections. But as you can see, general fund, we're down 23 for the year, but you think out of a almost $4 million budget, it's basically like a break even in your general fund, right? So you're very close, and there'll be some things I'll touch on there as to how we got to that point. And as you can see, your water, wastewater, you're in a surplus again, and there'll be some things we can look at on there. Again, your project tracker, just kind of seeing where you're at with the water line. There's been discussion on that, so you kind of can see the money left in the bank there and what's been spent to date. And then on the park, I know there's been some engineering, and that's what's remaining on that to be spent. So if you flip to page 2 on your general fund, so really looking at this, just a few things I wanted to highlight. If you look, your total revenue, so you're at 102% revenue for the year. So you think, oh yeah, you hit your target on your revenue. For the most part, that is true. Your property taxes, you're at 104. Your franchise fees, you're at 98. But really, if you look, your development carried you this year. So your development was $467,000 over budget in terms of the money that was brought in. that carried the revenue to where you didn't have to do, you had the $375,000 transfer from the water fund budgeted. You didn't have to do that because the development carried that fund. And so you had the cash coming in. You had some additional expenses, so you'll see on the expense side some line items that are over, obviously, because it's not all profit on development. You have to pay, the inspection fees, things like that. But there's certainly revenue that's coming from that. So that's just something I wanted to point out. And you will see on your fines and forfeitures, so on your court costs, that is your 104 under budget on that. So that did offset some of the growth you've had. That has been down the last few years. Obviously, this year with COVID, they haven't had as much in-person stuff, things like that. So that's just something we'll kind of continue to monitor, even from a budget perspective, where that goes. Because I know, a couple of years ago, I think it was at 237,000 that you had brought in. So that's continued to come down the last couple of years. So, so as you can see, when you look at the big number, you're at 102, but there's some different variances in there just to be aware of. Your property and sales tax, your big carrier there, and you can see, obviously, those came in right on or just over budget, that we've tracked those throughout the year. On the expense side, on the general fund, nothing really I wanted to point out. Under the operational and contractual on page 4, you can see that's some of the consultants and professionals there. Those are some of the inspection fees are built into that line item. And so you can see that the total on that is above budget, but that's because, like I said, some of the additional development there. We've talked about the stuff in the capital outlay, but if there's any questions there, let me know. The capital reserves is the tornado sirens that was spent earlier in the year. The fund transfer, that 10,000 was just to the roads, a little overage there. So you can see nothing too out of the ordinary on the general fund. Any questions on that one within the general fund detail? Water, again, no major issues there, just a couple things to point out. You can see, obviously, this year, a much better year from last year. I know last year we had the drought and some things that caused you to be under budget. But this year, 102% on user charges. So you're right where you want to be, and hopefully that number will continue to grow. You did have some impact fees that helped you on your water fund revenue. And then you can see on just the net, you're at 340. And we know for sure that your debt issuance cost or your debt service costs next year are going to increase by 242. So if ever, beyond the discussion that was just had, you can see, okay, that factors in. However, you had a lot of capital expenditures this past year that we anticipate you wouldn't have those again. So your water fund is in really good shape in terms of your cash flow on that fund. Wastewater, again, your user charges were at 99%. So you're right where you wanted to be budget-wise, and really your expenses were below budget on that fund for most areas. Didn't have as much maintenance, that kind of stuff. The thing I'll point out on that, so you're up 330, but again, as the current debt service cost goes, I know there's some potential new issuance there. The debt service payments goes from 75,000 to 267. So obviously, if things play out the same, that income would drop substantially, but still be enough to cover the additional debt on that. If you look at page 11, just on your cash balances, you can kind of see where you're at, and it gives you a good perspective of where were we at September of 19 versus September of 20. So you can kind of see what's changed on that. Again, the water fund, you have sufficient cash reserves on that. General fund, like I said, you have enough operationally right now, but there's not a huge surplus there, but you're still, you're in a strong financial position there. Just you don't have as much additional reserves on that. Any questions on anything, just looking back at the year that would come up on the financial side?
Great job, Jake.
Thanks.
Any questions for Jake? Okay, thanks, Jake. Item number 8, presentation Rose, Communications Director, present an update on the Communications Department.
Good evening. So not quite a year ago, I came to you guys to give kind of an overview of the Communications Department and where we were going and kind of what our goals were. Most of the goals that I set as a department for 2020 sort of imploded because we had to change our game plan a lot this year, obviously. But I wanted to kind of circle back around and touch base with you guys on some of the things that we did accomplish this year and kind of an overview of what we're going to look at in 2021. The main 2020 highlight is the website launch. If you guys have not gone on and taken a look at the new website, it has proven to be extremely functional. We condensed a lot of stuff, removed a lot of outdated information, a lot of duplicate pages. We worked on the project for about 9 months with Civic Plus. We really concentrated on ease of navigation and focusing on what are people asking most often, what are they looking for most often, and making that the information that's easiest to find. We also have, as I've mentioned a few times, the capability now that when we post something to the website, people can sign up through email to get an alert sent to them. We've seen really good engagement with that. I've had a surprisingly large amount of people sign up for those email alerts. So I can tell you this much, it's working. At least so far so good, but it's going to be a slow road. Anytime you switch something like this, it doesn't always happen overnight. On that note, we are now also pushing out our newsletter digitally through the website, and the metrics on that show that people are clicking on it more. So that's actually reaching more people and getting on more phones and more desktops than it was before. Obviously, 2020 involved a lot of messaging related to COVID and the pandemic. We partnered with the county to help get those messages out and work a lot on public health as far as those things go. And we did some community outreach related to that, particularly the Get It To Go campaign that we did back in March and April when things were really, really shut down. We partnered with a lot of the local restaurants and actually had a section on the website that showed here's who's open, here's how to get a hold of them, here's what specials they're running right now, here's how you can support our local businesses. And we got really good feedback from our local businesses related to that. Looking ahead to 2021, we're going to, as a department, look into our consistency as far as our style and our branding goes. There's some things that we need to do to make sure that we're just consistent across the board as far as making sure the logo use is consistent, that all of our materials that go out from all of our different departments all look the same. We're going to look into, creating an actual style guide that everyone can refer to and follow. COVID willing, we're going to bring back events in 2021. Willow Bark was shaping up to be a really fun time, and we had to call that a couple of weeks before the event, and obviously we didn't get to have the charity golf tournament that benefits the fire and police departments this year. So we're hoping that both of those are able to return in 2021. And there's some other things too, some ideas that I'm talking with some folks about that hopefully we'll be able to bring to you guys and have some more things, which brings me to my third point, and this is really what we want to kind of do because we got a good start on it in 2020. I want to increase our engagement with the citizens and businesses. I want Willow Park to have a little bit more of a public presence at things. We already attend events like Bearcat Nation 101 and the Chamber Expo. I want our department to do more of that. I want us out there talking to people, shaking hands, letting them know, hey, we're here for you. Here's how to get a hold of us. Just letting them know that we're open to those lines of communication and letting them know how to communicate back with us and give us their feedback so that we then can respond and meet their needs. And with that, I'll take any questions anyone has.
Thanks, Rose.
Great job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good job.
Good job.
Item number 9, to consider and act on items to be considered for future council meetings. Mr. Grimes.
Sorry. I've got a couple of things. I think Leah's going to make an announcement here during her comments, or you want me to?
I can do it now.
Okay.
Next month, we have 2 positions on our Parks Board that expire. I do expect those 2 individuals to want to reapply, but we're just opening up those applications. So I think it's already on our website, the link to the application and the deadlines for that, but hopefully we'll receive some interest from our current Parks Board members and anybody else that wants to be considered, so.
Very good.
We'll have the 2 annexation hearings that we just set today. And then also have a transportation discussion. I have not really confirmed that with Derek yet. We've been busy doing some other things the last 2 weeks, but we're trying to maybe see what we can do as far as the transportation CIP goes. We ranked a number of projects a year ago, and we want to come back and revisit some of those projects with you guys again.
Okay.
Do you know when we're going to have the stormwater drainage fee ordinance, all of that discussion? Are we waiting until January?
I'm thinking we'll have. I'm going to try to push for December the 8th. Yes.
Okay. So possibly.
I don't
December.
want to. I don't want to confirm that tonight, but I'm going to
Okay.
push for it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Mayor. Sorry.
No, anything else? We're going to set the meeting for the next meeting.
We will not have. So going to item 10, We will not have a meeting on November the 22nd. That's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
24th. Or am I looking at it wrong?
I had the 22nd on there, but
You're,
I'm probably wrong.
24.
24th.
Thank you. We will not have a meeting on November the 24th. We are anticipating only having one meeting in December as well, December the 8th. As the second meeting would be on the 22nd. That's where I'm getting that number from. So we'll have one meeting in December, and this will be the only meeting for the month of November, barring a special call meeting.
okay, our next meeting is December the 8th.
Yeah, what about an update on the park status, or will they be finished with it by then? What's the schedule on it?
Good question.
Completion date,
Yeah,
we're looking spring next year.
it's spring, okay,
They're doing,
We started construction last week, QA started last week, so.
okay.
they're doing some good work.
Sir?
They're doing some good work. Okay, Mr. Grimes, do you have anything, comments? Well, my comments are first. I'd like to thank the council tonight for working through this issue we had. I appreciate everyone's input. I appreciate everyone's patience. I don't know, well, I'm not going to go where what I started to say, but I do appreciate the cohesiveness we have, the togetherness we have, and we didn't lose sight of what we want, and we moved forward through this difficult issue we had tonight with the water. So for that, I'm appreciative to everyone. Thank you. Mr. Grimes.
I'll echo the mayor's comments on that. I appreciate how you guys have handled this. I appreciate your willingness to step up to the plate and see the project through. This is a special place, and you guys are a special council, and that's, you handled a tough decision tonight with class and dignity. Couldn't ask for a better council right now.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Anything else? Anyone have anything else?
The offices are closed tomorrow.
City offices are closed. We are having a employee potluck on the Friday before Thanksgiving at the fire hall. You guys are welcome to attend and bring food.
And we want to give a special thanks to the veterans, all the veterans in Willow Park
Yeah.
that served.
Absolutely.
Motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.